Okay, guys, thank you for showing up today with our training for calculators. These are some things that a few teachers have been using for a few years, and they have been shown to be very effective. We're going to today know how to learn how to use the TIs and create documents and to show how effective they can be because of constant feedback. It gives the kids constant feedback, and it also allows, it's really effective in showing the students how to own their learning. So feel free to ask any questions if I'm unclear about anything. We are going to start off talking about some troubleshooting. So at the beginning of the class, it's important that you set up at the beginning of school, it's important that you set up and you teach and train the students how you want them to come in, get their calculators and the routine. Wherever you're gonna make it on purpose, put your calculators where it's easy for them to grab everything that they need in with the calculator, their notebooks, whatever it is that you have, materials for them to start out with. Then there's going to be some things that they need to check. With technology, there's always going to be some issues. Sometimes the Wi-Fi's down. Sometimes these calculators are getting a signal, and others are not. So if you would look on your calculators, and you'll tell them every time that you get a calculator that they'll be looking in the top right corner for you'll have the battery sign, and then next to the battery sign you should see a circle with an arrow like so. If that circle is not there, your calculator is not reading the Wi-Fi. So you know that calculator, you need to tell that student to put that calculator back on the cradle and find another one because it is not going to read. Then they're going to say, how about if mine has the Wi-Fi signal? And you'll say, do you see the circle next to the battery? If the circle is not next to the battery, you will not be able to connect to the Wi-Fi. All right, so the very first thing is we're going to show you how to set up your classes. So and it is very simple. Once you get the kids' names, it's easier to already have the kids into the system before they get started because you're going to have to spend a lot of time showing them how to log in, and it's just going to be that. Just already know that that's going to be a day or a class period depending on how our schedule goes next year with class period. So when you get your software open, you'll have this screen. So we're going to start a new class. So right here you're going to say file. Let's see. No, that's not right. We're going to have to go to class, the class tab, and add a class. There's a bunch of students here and one student there. So we're going to add a whole class manually. The class name is going to be, let's do teacher training. And then we're adding that class, and then next. Now we're going to add students. So the first student is going to be first name Akira, last name Thomas. Username, I always put is a username is their first initial, last name. Everybody's password is math. Next student. Last name, is that right? Watson. Okay, so then B. Watson, password, math. So make sure you have any questions because you're fixing to come and add a student. Thomas Martinez. T password math. So if someone would come in, I have the names that you're gonna add here. You'll add that name and then just come back and have a seat. You can either use the mouse or tab.
Add next student.
Yes, please. Next person. This is how simple it is to get your class started.
I'm on the used.
Do you see it right there? It should be right underneath. She's got her nails done. She can't quite type it in.
Me nervous.
Don't be nervous.
One letter at a time.
Add next student. Okay, so do you see how it says your roster already contains the username A Thomas because we have Akira Thomas, and so it can't have the same name. So sometimes I have to either just make the decision that it's going to be Thomas A or Abria T or whatever you decide. So you can put Abria T as the username, but you can still keep her name in the first name, last name. And she'll have to have and then add next student. And she'll have to have you'll just have to tell her when mine ain't working if you forget to tell them up front.
Oh, that's pretty neat. See all the names that add up.
I did that one.
You did James. No. So, you want me to go ahead and
It's going to be a
make
duplicate.
it wrong?
No, you can know that you were listening and
I'm gonna give him a gem, double gem.
and when you're deciding like one reason, if you go ahead and close it, because I think if you hit finish it might give you an error, but it may not. Try finish. Yeah. So just hit close or cancel and those be sent. You can choose like first names. You don't have to do first initial, last name. I tend to do that because sometimes it's harder to type in the first names. Some of the first names are a little different. So last names are a lot easier. Thank you. That's how easy it is to set your classes up. All right. So next is logging in. So you'll tell the kids on their screen. So if you'll turn on your calculator and you'll hit the number 5. You can tab down or you can just hit the number 5 and then hit the number 5 again. And in the username section, you're going to put your first initial, last name. They do it. They get good at using those nails to punch it in.
I just think they need
And then password math.
You can't capitalize?
No, you don't need to capitalize yet.
How do you
Login failed.
Oh yeah, because I hadn't started class. That's great. So right here, teacher training, if you haven't begun class, it is not gonna allow you guys to log in. So now you'll have to do it again. And you'll know when the student is logged in, so as you're walking around and you're helping students, you can glance up and you see that Watson has turned black and bolded, then I know that she's logged in. I'd like to see if it's gonna let you log in with the caps.
Because she couldn't
Just go down, hit down, arrow, over, and then enter. You're logged in. Okay. Now, that's okay. This is another deal. If you'll take your, go ahead and hit OK. And if you'll take in this section of your calculator. I wonder why I can't touch on the screen. Maybe I don't. Right here in the middle, it is like your mouse. So if you'll rub on that real lightly, you can see, don't mash it too hard, but you can see that it moves that arrow like a mouse.
Yes.
You got to, you got to touch it very lightly. Did yours work?
Mhm.
Not matte. You can't have your whole finger on it. A lot of times, once you tell the kids that that's all they want to use, sometimes it's just easier to arrow. So that's just something extra to do. Okay, and if I'm sure there are some things that I'm not thinking of at the time. So here now you can. This is how the kids get started and then log on. A lot of times when we come in immediately, they know that we are going to, as the year goes on, the sequence is that we are taking our notes and we need to teach kids to use their notes. So every day they come in, the warm up for that day is based off of yesterday's learning. So in order for them to answer those questions, we have probably 80% of the questions are they can go dig through their notes and find the answers. So we're trying to get them to find their own information instead of always asking the question. So if you look there on here, you can put your calculator down for a second, and you have the snapshot for the math 8th grade standards there. And for today, we're going to kind of go through how we use the calculators in planning when we're planning a lesson. So we're starting with standard in category 2. If you look on the side, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 categories in 8th grade. We're going to do a lesson out of category 2, and we're going to introduce that lesson. So this is the new 6 weeks, or this is a new unit, and at the beginning of this unit, we are going to have to learn how to set up or how to write an equation, a linear equation. Y equals mx plus b. And on the back of your sheet, you have a star chart. And usually the kids start out with these are blank, but these are kind of what the kids used as the year went on. So if you look at the section where it says slope-intercept form at the very top, y equals kx, and then m, y2 sub 2 minus y sub 1. That's the section that we want to work out of. And then you want to tell your kids, you want to let them know this is where all of the information we're going to do for the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, however long the unit is, this is where we are getting this information. A lot of times we found that when the kids get to the STAR test, they don't know how to use a STAR chart. So then this is us teaching them how to use a STAR chart. This is us teaching them when to use the STAR chart on what types of questions. So you want to relate those things as you are teaching so that they know how to go back and forth from a question, where am I going on my formula chart? Okay, so we're going to pretend, because we're going to jump back and forth into teachers and students at the same time. So here's how this lesson would start. We're finishing to start this unit, And then as we're starting the unit, you're the student, so we're going to come up with let's see, you're going to do one, and then we're gonna make one, okay? So, at the beginning, I would say, all right, guys, we're about to start a category 2. We're gonna learn, by the end of the 6 weeks, you're gonna know how to write the equation of a line. So I would start off with this video, and the kids, they're pretty entertained by it. I don't know why, but here it goes. It's about 2.5 minutes.
Rise up or rise down. We mapping graphs to the triple R sound. We're talking points and slopes, axes and origins. Why intersect and crimes and so on them. Rise up, rise down. We mapping graphs to the triple R sound. We're talking points and slopes, axes and origins. Why intersect and crimes and so on them. The 4 quads that start from the top and right. Counterclockwise from the positive X to Y. You go around with the 2 and then 3 by the left negative. Remember that, please. You got a single point on the X, Y rear. There's a single pair of values telling you where it is. This X coordinate goes from side to side. The Y follows the comma to define the points. A straight line between 2 points is a relation. You can represent a linear equation. Y equals M times X plus B. If you want to know the variables, listen to me. M is the slope, that's rather a run. It tells you how steep the line is going to become. B is the intercept, that's how you assess the point at which the line goes through the y-axis. Rise up or rise down. We mapping graphs to the triple R sound. We're talking points and slopes, axes and origins. Y intersect and crimes and so on them. Rise up, rise down. We mapping graphs to the triple R sound. We're talking points and slopes, axes and origins. Y intersect and crimes and so on them. So you got a job and you're earning your pay. You start with $50, take it 9 every day. You wanna know over a year how much you get. Calculating the graph might be your best bet. On the X, you measure it 1 day at a time, and your money gets tracked on the vertical line. Now you got some, and you ain't even worked yet. $50, put it up, that's your y-intercept. After the first day, you got 59. Now you got 2 points, you can start drawing a line. The slope of that line, remember, overrun. It's dollars over days, and you got out over 1. Remember B, I think that's where we started at. $50 up on the graph, the y-intercept. And you know y equals mx plus b. Now you got y equals 9x plus 50. Rise up or rise down. We mapping graphs to the triple R sound. We're talking points and slopes, axes and origins. Y intersect and crimes and so on them. Rise up, rise down. We mapping graphs to the triple R sound. We're talking points and slopes, axes and origins. Y intersect and crimes and so on them. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up.
All right, so we're logged in. In a regular class, I would probably send them the document, let them read the questions, then play the video, and then play it again while they're answering. So a lot of time, so in order to make sure that they're listening, they know that, hey, I'm going to send you a document, so you need to pay attention, and because you're going to have to answer some questions. And I'm going to allow you to work in groups, okay? So that you can come up with questions. And if you want to miss some, that's fine. That'll just be a way to so I can show you how effective the feedback is. If not, it's okay if you just can't seem to make yourself miss a question. So here I'm going to send these out. I'm going to send them out to logged in only so that the other people I made up won't show up. So in a second, you should see that a document has shown up on your calculator, and you'll just open it or go to it. Not yet. That's perfect. And let's see. Oh, you got unconnected for some reason. So.
How do we fix
And
that?
In regular class, I would probably tell the kid to go get another calculator. But while they're getting a calculator, I'm just gonna take my pen and I'm gonna reset the calculator, and when it comes back on, it'll probably work. But sometimes as the year goes on, the kids already know how to do that. So they'll do it on their own. Which I wish they wouldn't, but and yours is gonna be in press to test mode, because when we take the STAR test, we have to have the calculators in press to test. So this will pop up on your screen, just hit escape. So you have to log back in, Marie. Okay, and so you're wondering, how do I go to the next page? So you're gonna hit Control. You can use your mouse, which I wish the kids didn't know, but they try to use their mouse to touch over here on the next page. But the easiest way is to hit Control. I can't hit Control on here. Hit Control and then arrow over. This blue key means next page. On your calculator, it's gold. So hit the Control key and then hit next page, and it'll go to the next question. And then I'll have to let me know when you're logged in, and I'll resend it. Or did it pop up? Yep, that's it.
Okay, now what do I do?
Okay, so you'll say, it says, where do the quadrants start and how many are they? Do the quadrants start at the top left, the bottom right, or top right? And there's four, all of them say 4. So remember,
this one, right?
you can if you want to, you don't have to.
Are we doing this?
You can do it as a group, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So what do we hit?
She just explained that you're gonna hit Control.
I was busy learning.
Yeah, she had to relog in.
Arrow over.
I wonder if that's why I couldn't touch. Yep, that was it.
Sparse.
Oh, she don't have.
Export those from.
That's right.
What if someone put side to side? Would that count?
I would probably count it.
Oh.
I'd probably count it, and I'd probably talk about, let's just go use left to right. And as you can see, we have the opportunity to ask so many kinds of questions. Open-ended questions, true, false, always, sometimes, never. We can put in where they have to graph a point. It's just so many ways that I do hate if a teacher chooses not to use this tool in their class. All teachers don't, but and then some of them don't because they're unaware of, they're afraid of the technology. So this way we can. I was one of those persons. I was annoyed that we had to use this, and once I got in it, I will not go back.
So does it tell you, like, oh, this student is done with the question?
Oh, no. No, oh, and I wish I was, that's what I was supposed to do. I was gonna give you a time, because in class, the kids can get to where they're daydreaming and they're not on it. And so I usually say, okay, you're gonna have 4 minutes to answer these 10 questions so that they stay on task. Okay, so depending on, you know what kinds of questions they are. If they're, a lot of times if there's 15 questions, but they're true and false questions or like yes or no questions, I'm not gonna give them as long as if they're open-ended. So you have to know and give a time frame. And sometimes they go over, but you can gauge if they're just sitting there and they're not done. What number are you on?
3.
Oh my God. I'm gonna give you about I'm gonna give you 1 minute to wrap up. 1 minute to wrap up.
What? I thought it stopped. I'm wondering how we
It'll,
turned
when
in.
it, control, I'll take them, control over, when you can't control tab anymore,
Marks.
then your document is done.
Marks. It won't let me go.
That's the last question.
She's still sitting on 3.
You weren't trying to figure out like, well, why are they still reading?
Is this supposed to be with the video?
Yeah.
Oh, because I didn't.
I think maybe there's a question that I just may have added at random. Oh, yeah.
From the video.
Mhm. We'll talk about it if you miss it.
Alright, well, we gonna miss it.
I think I may have forgot that one though.
I'm gonna do.
Y'all just sitting on 10, huh? How you backspace?
Y'all change it now. Don't you get it?
Slopes.
Points. I haven't Googled it. I don't know what it is. Points, maybe origin, axis, and
Origin is
on
already.
there.
I put
Marks.
I put quadrant.
I said X, Y.
Yeah, quadrants might be it. Okay, so here it is. You put what?
X, Y.
Okay, so here's the class. 3 of us. I was like, who did not log in? I was already getting back in.
Why's mine got a lock on it?
Because yours is in that press to test mode.
Oh.
That just shows it's in there. Okay, so I'm gonna. This is the blue arrow. Tells me that I'm fixing to get the documents from your calculator. So here's the assignment that I'm collecting, and this, if it troubleshoots, I was gonna do this before so that it wouldn't do this, but if it does, then this is usually what happens on Mondays when I've turned the computer off and back on. It doesn't want to pick them up the first time. So hopefully, sometimes it takes a minute because it hasn't been attached, and so it's a nightmare when it first happens. But as the year goes on, the kids get used to it, and it's no longer a problem. So this is how it's gonna be. So this is what I would do. I would go ahead and restart my computer. And sometimes, like for this activity that I'm showing, I wouldn't do it. Like if it was something that was a 5-question whatever, I would just X-nay the assignment. But if it's something that I know I needed them to, like, I want this data, then I'm gonna do this because I need to see how they answer the questions. And so we're restarting the computer, and then you guys will have to log on, and your stuff will still be there, and I'll just take it up at like normal. Now that I'm actually having to do it, I wish I would have gone ahead but this is something that will happen. So
It's good that we're seeing this.
yeah, it will. And if you're like me and you're not a good technology troubleshooter, it's really chaotic because the kids are going crazy and you're trying to figure out. So go ahead and log back in. Are your documents still there that you can see?
They never turned off.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just the access point not wanting to do right. Uh-oh. And sometimes I just have to wiggle that access point until it
It's a lot of troubleshooting.
Yep, it is. It's worth it.
Oh, because you turned the access.
Yeah, it's gonna have to refresh.
I'm not in it.
Yeah, cause I reset the deal. Try it again. Try it again. Yeah, this is exactly how those kiddos are gonna. Is it ready? Did it pick y'all up?
Login attempt failed.
Login still failed. Do you have the circle?
Uh-huh.
Mine is still bold.
So, see right here how it used to have Thomas?
Oh, okay.
Now it doesn't. So now we're gonna have to select a network. And you want it to be mine and connect. Oh, I haven't started this thing.
Maybe that was the reason. Is that right?
Me?
Yeah.
Because I knew it was waiting for you to start. Because I just said
Watson's in. Thomas is in. And I've got my backup wire right here just in case.
That was a good catch, Miss Thomas.
So we go back, we go to my documents and pull back.
No, I think if it's gonna take it, then it's gonna take it, cancel that. And I'm going to, collect the ones that are missing and see if we get them. Looks like we did. 3 out of 6 is what picked up. They're green and these are red because they didn't get picked up. All right. So I'm going to, let me tell you what I'm doing. This arrow, I'm right clicking on this arrow. I want to save the information to the portfolio. That's where you're going to see their grade. And then I'm going to right click again and I'm going to open the document. And then here goes what you just did. So the first question, where do the quadrants start and how many are there? So everyone answered correctly. This is, everybody goes, yeah, let's go. So they get excited. So here, if you
put your name.
Yes, if you want to
Wow.
see who
It's gonna
answered it,
put
you
your-
can roll over it.
I bet you do.
Oh, I do. And if you know they want to see who missed it, it'll be 15 right and 1 wrong. And I'm like,
And there.
it is, yes. And so it is really important that you build your relationships with the kids. You build an atmosphere that the kids feel comfortable with missing questions. And that's really important to me because you do not learn unless you miss questions. So once that kid is the only one that missed that question, they are going to be paying attention so that it doesn't happen again. So they go clockwise or counterclockwise, and so then I would talk to Akira about which.
She don't even want to hit it, bro.
This one. You want to do it.
I missed the next one.
Clockwise, and this is the important part, and this is really important. Whenever you're doing this, this is a reason for that because somebody has a misunderstanding that they may not know what clockwise and counterclockwise is. So at this point, you would explain. There's half the people in the ones that were green guessed green, and they really didn't know counterclockwise or clockwise. So just because there's only one person that misses it, still there's some people that don't really know. They guess the correct answer.